Hello, it's James Raylight. I'm going to read a piece I wrote today as the Moshiach, a Messiah, um, who is reading prophecy of what's to come. So basically, it's a political video. The Democrats and the CIA and the United States and every other government in every country and every continent will be put on an international legal trial because of violating international laws. Specifically the Geneva Convention laws with the United States Constitution of freedom to assembly and gather to travel freely, and collusion to create and profit from corporate genocide and international physical oppression because of the creation of the COVID-19 virus, which is a biological terrorist weapon, and the lockdowns from the COVID virus, which have illegally killed and terrorized civilians internationally. Sponsored by the CIA, the Democrats, and the United States government, and the Chicago Democrats. Much love to you guys. The CIA obstructed democracy in the US by stealing another presidential election, this last 2021 election from Trump, with Joe Biden winning. By stealing Trump's victory illegally over Joe Biden because of the Chicago Democrats and the CIA, namely Dick Durbin, Barack Hussein Obama, the Antichrist, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Rahm Emanuel, Governor Pritzker, and Lori Lightfoot, the bug-eyed dwarf, African-American, annoying Muppet. All of these people will be indicted or sentenced according to international legal law and national law, federal law, for their decades-long careers filled with corruption, terrorism, collusion, and international terrorism against the civilians of the United States, including myself. The mask orders from the COVID virus are not legal law, and the lockdowns from the COVID pandemic are a violation of the United States Constitution. Every act the government is doing that violates people's fundamental civil and human rights and constitutional rights as citizens of the United States, which is bound by laws, is completely illegal. So you have politicians and the CIA operatives posing as politicians who are illegal bad actors, like Barack Hussein Obama, Lori Lightfoot, who are not lawyers. And if they are, Lori Lightfoot supposedly is, but she breaks the law. She just stole $300 and some million from the Chicago Police Department, seemingly, recently, who follow, but they are ignorant, racist, African rebel warriors, essentially. At least Lori Lightfoot and Barack Obama are. And I like black people. I just don't like them personally because of what their actions are. Africans I like, who are imitating white European Republican politicians while trying to create a new African, lesbian, gay, democratic, genocidal government designed to kill all the white European Christian Republicans and a governmental Trojan horse CIA, illegal terrorist and collusive Hebrew, African, Marxist, Russian communist, collusive genocide against every civilian in every country run by the United States government and the CIA illegally, which violates all kinds of national and international, constitutional and civil and corporate and political law. RICO case lawsuits will be filed against the United States government, workers including the CIA in this country and internationally, and they will be brought to legal justice by real lawyers in real courts for their actions that are illegal, because no one is above the law, including them. Allah or God will judge all of humanity on Judgment Day also, so they won't beat the case by 2/3 majority vote, even if they beat the case in these lower realms on earth. They won't beat the karma they created that God wrote, or the judgment that God will deliver to them on the rapture day or on Judgment Day. I don't judge people, God does. So for the last 20 years, since the Clintons left the president of the United States office, This country has accumulated $40 to $50 trillion in debt financially. And the last 20 years, Oprah Winfrey, the internet, drug use, gang violence, and the CIA have systemically tried to destroy this country and to try to control the world. With internet propaganda of the Oprah show, Oprah's book club, her installing Barack Hussein Obama as president illegally because of Democratic Dick Durbin, who's the Democrat from Chicago, who I can't stand personally, and the Chicago Democrats, and Rahm Emanuel, who's another Democratic former mayor of Chicago. There has been a liberal left terrorism campaign against the United States and the world funded by the CIA, the United States government, the Chicago Democrats, the Democratic Party, causing millions of dollars of debt, or trillions of dollars of debt, excuse me, killing thousands of civilians, breaking plenty of international global laws, and them even stealing the White House, obstructing democracy with fake fixed elections, lying to the public under oath, under legal oath when they took office of being president or mayor or governor, which is perjury by legal definition for all these legally oathed politicians, colluding against innocent civilian taxpayers like my family, with politicians stealing property, tax, tip fund money, and governmental funds, to buy lobster tail, to buy yachts, to buy expensive vacations for themselves, to buy expensive mansions, to open casinos illegally in Illinois, to benefit only African Americans and gay and lesbian people, with building housing only specifically with preference to build for only lesbian and African women, which Lori Lightfoot does. She steals the money from the TIF funds in Chicago, or allocates the money and then just primarily she only invests with lesbians, African women who are probably racist against white people with white people's money from the suburbs who get nothing from the city, beside grief and threats from a bug-eyed African who shouldn't even be in office, who Rahm Emanuel installed illegally, I might add. And his name means with God, but he hasn't acted godly. He's acted criminally. Money through property taxes. Now you have African Americans who don't have legal credentials, like legal birth certificates, like Barack Hussein Obama. If he does, it's a vaulted birth certificate that's in Hawaii. And Hawaii is not part of the continental U.S. So even if his mother was technically a citizen from Kansas, that doesn't mean that he's actually allowed to run for president, because he still doesn't have a legal birth certificate. But even if he had a legal birth certificate, fine. We're a nation of immigrants, but he's broken the law so many times since he's been in this country, since 1992, that this man should have been indicted or arrested a long time ago, but he hasn't. But they arrested Blagojevich and gave him eight years, which Trump got him out of prison, and he had to serve federal time for 8 years for selling Barack Obama's Senate seat. So it doesn't make sense. They put the white man in jail for selling a Senate seat, but they don't put the African terrorist in jail for causing terror, trillions of dollars of loss, selling weapons to Iran, Barack Obama did, and then terrorizing the United States, stole 3 elections, including the new one, and then just caused 6 months of terror with the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, and who are of the United States, like Oprah Winfrey, who was a broke drug addict, and then from Mississippi trying to control and destroy the United States, and the European Republic, melting pot politically, financially, and culturally, globally, in our society. Okay, our society in the United States is not dictated by the CIA, the Chicago Democrats, or the Democratic Party only. It's supposed to be dictated by the laws of the Constitution and the laws of the states, federally and nationally and internationally, and by the people who use legal democracy to form a better nation, not to be oppressed by the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, who acts quite stupid a lot of times, illegally by the United States government, illegally rewriting the Constitution from 2008 to 2016 with Barack Obama as false president. Courtesy of Oprah and the Chicago Democrats, who both supported Barack. I think Oprah gave him $1 million for his presidential run to fund Barack. And without the Oprah effect of her essentially popularity feeding the Obama campaign, he would have never won, because he had no credentials beside being his father being dignitary or diplomat in Africa, and he didn't do too well as a womanizing alcoholic, as far as what I understand. Installing an ignorant antichrist, rebel, radical, non-citizen Barack Hussein Obama to the White House to create a terror campaign against the civilians of the United States and the whole world by violating national and international law, by substituting law with illegal petitions and internet propaganda, namely the internet, promoted to destroy the United States and European Caucasian Christian Republicans, and the melting pot that is the United States, and every other person who is not a African liberal Democrat Marxist communist, which they think they're Russian Chinese people, which is surprising if they're African, because even if Barack is half white, I'm saying you would only be half Russian and half Chinese, maybe. But most Africans don't consider themselves Marxist communists, because what happened is this ignorant person got radicalized by reading books in college. And then he thought he was these ideas, but he's not. He's just a confused African antichrist. The Democrats have terrorized people since 2008 with Barack Hussein Obama, trying to create a Marxist, communist, liberal, left democratic, African, Hebrew, gay, and lesbian illegal terror campaign, which has recently killed 100 people in the Black Lives Matter riots for 5 months, I believe, in 2020. Last year, and Antifa riots during the spring and summer, and caused civil insurrection from 2020 from 5 months ago, which cost $1 billion, basically with the National Guard and all the damage to the infrastructure of the businesses in every major city and globally. So 5 months then after the riots, the illegal lockdowns, which are completely illegal acts of terrorism, by legal definition of the Constitution and legal federal and state law. Now the government wants to set up death camps with, I think it's called Article 21, by creating, literally they built death camps, and then now it's vaccination sites. So now they think that vaccinating people with a COVID virus, which would only relieve people for 12 hours, because if you give someone a drug, it's going to have side effects, and it would only protect them for 12 hours. Because their immune system, as long as it's not compromised, is what protects you from disease. By your immune system makes you immune to the disease. So a vaccination would only, if you take one dose of a drug, it's only going to have an effect for 4 to 12 hours, I believe. It's not a permanent cure. Your immune system would be, and that's not a cure, it's temporary also, but that's how your physiology runs, I believe. Not as legal, civic-minded, law-abiding government officials and politicians. Okay, the CIA has no legal right to do anything that is illegal, regardless of their endgame goals, delusions, or corporate terrorist agendas. The Democrats are a legal group of old Hebrew Jewish delusional old school racists, like Bernie Sanders, and oppressors like Joe Biden also. He grew up with a bunch of Southern racists who were his running mates and in political fields in the 70s and 80s. So that's who people voted for ignorantly. Stupid, belligerent, liberal, left, hippie college students turned corporate deep state agenda terrorists like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I like Bill Clinton, but I don't like Hillary. It's because he's a jazz musician. At least they balanced the budget. But Hillary's also involved in all these deep state agendas from Illinois that they're trying to bring illegal drugs in from Mexico and legal drugs in from Mexico that they sell, and trying to kill all these people with legal prescription drugs. I think of OxyContin and all these other drugs and all this nasty stuff that they do that they don't tell people. While she says it takes a village. Well, so while she's writing a book that she won a Grammy for, supposedly saying it takes a village to raise people, she's trying to kill them with prescription medicine, with Barack Obama as a drug dealer. So that's nice. So it's contradicted. So Hillary and Barack Obama are, career criminals and public figures like Oprah Winfrey, Dick Durbin, Rahm Emanuel, and the Chicago Democrats, all of them, basically. And then, as a citizen of the United States, everyone's guaranteed legal, constitutional, and civil rights that can't be violated by anyone, and have been repeatedly by the Chicago Democrats, the CIA, the state of Illinois, at least myself, and the United States government in many ways. People have, unless it's supernatural, people have broken into my house without forced entry. Unless I have stigmatic wounds, I have first-degree burns on my legs, I have needle marks on my legs that I didn't put there. I'm not a drug user, I've never done needle drugs ever. I don't take insulin, even though if I might have blood sugar issues. But people have attacked me repeatedly. They've stolen stuff from me. The CIA, I believe, is doing this, unless it's supernatural. Okay, unless it's some rogue group of professionals who are trained, which I doubt. These stupid, which has been going on for 4 years, I might add, just for the record. So these people tried to kill me personally, so it's a personal thing of them poisoning my food, attacking my physical body, and then breaking into my house, stealing my stuff illegally, and then trying to follow me and obstruct me in society, even when I'm trying to get food. With government plates on all the cars, following me around as Homeland Defense, the NSAs, listening to my phone calls, and then all these people are driving around, and I'm an innocent civilian, okay, who's not involved in criminal activity at all. I'm a messiah who's a musician, a bass player, and who's doing these videos as protests, and to tell these people what the prophecy is going to be. Because they're all going to be judged on the day of judgment, and the judgment of nations is going to happen. So these stupid, delusional, drug-addicted terrorists of the Democrats who are posing as politicians and CIA members have no legal right to terrorize anyone, and none of them will get away with any of their actions. Against me or any civilian in the United States or any country in the UN or the global society we live in. Judgment will be given to all of them by God or Allah, and only God's will prevail. Not the Democrats, not Barack Obama's, or the racist, gay and lesbian-based society and political groups like the LGBTQ trans community, which I'm not against them, but I'm not for them either, because they'll just get pneumonia and go extinct. I don't dislike gay people, but I don't genuinely support their groups because it's an aberrant lifestyle that just gives people pneumonia and they'll die. I don't judge people if they want to live like that because their orientation, fine. But it's not good to teach children that. The Bible condemns it. Physically, they'll get pneumonia and die of AIDS. So I don't want to have to pay for it because of their low T cell counts, excuse me, which is another lie. I think the government created AIDS as a fallacy. I don't think it exists. I think people just get pneumonia, and I think it's another CIA murderous agenda. I think AIDS is false. I think people just die of pneumonia. What I know is this, and that's why I put an anti-ammonia post on my Instagram. So for anyone, even if somebody who has AIDS, I don't judge people. God does. So, or Black Lives Matter or Antifa, okay? Which Antifa is supposed to be anti-fascist, but what they do is they try to stop traffic, attack people, break windows, and then violence against people, and what they're doing is fascism. They're trying to stop people from speaking and using their public voice and their First Amendment rights, which is fascism. I don't know if they understand that, but they're actually what they're trying to stop. They represent what they're trying to stop because they're a fascist group who blocks traffic, who stops people from speaking, and who tries to attack people publicly for speaking their viewpoint that opposes their viewpoint, which is fascism, as far as my understanding goes. Okay? I have no personal issue with them. I'm just saying that they're representing the opposite of what they're trying to stop. Okay? They're representing the same thing, which is fascism, but they're calling themselves Antifa, which it's confused people who don't know what they're talking about. The liberal left cringe fringe will be judged, negated, and destroyed legally and by God's will out of necessity. For their legal action should have never been written that way, and they should have never happened. And no fake politicians and bad actors who don't belong in politics, who have horrible personalities and illegal career criminal actions should have never masqueraded as legal lawyers, legal politicians, or civil leaders, or civic leaders, or righteous government officials, who the civilians are supposed to, legally be served by and protected by, at least served by, legally, because that's what their legal oath says, that they have to serve the public legally, that they're not supposed to terrorize people, collude against people, and do all the things they do. And then God will judge all of them, and all of us, including them, and all of this is temporary in life and society. So their illegal actions were a waste of time and inconsequential. 2/3 of life and society stay the same, and life spins in a wheel that is a circle of life, okay, with only 25% to 33% of change, progress, and evolution, mostly technical machines that progress. Human nature stays the same. That is allowed by God or Allah's will. So the Democrats trying to change everything in society to the opposite of the how society functions, legally, morally, culturally, financially and politically, fundamentally will not actually work, as has been proven since 2008 to 2016, and now is being proven again by Joe Biden and the Democrats, which is basically Barack Obama's silent third term in 2021. So the Democrats raise taxes, have a Green Deal, bad energy policy that will cause more financial problems and bankruptcy in the trillions. I think it's cost $40 trillion or something ridiculous. And the Democrats conspiring against everyone in a Marxist, communist, African, Hebrew, gay, lesbian, leftist, radical, illegal, and terrorism campaign is not legal governing or legal rightful action defined by constitutional, international, national, federal, and state law. The Democrats are trying to cause an African, gay, lesbian, Hebrew illegal takeover of the United States and the other countries and continents by promoting civil unrest, race riots, terrorism, it's true, caused by Black Lives Matter and Antifa, trying to use cancel culture to cancel everything that is European, Caucasian, straight, Republican, and Christian. And they're trying to own the banking system illegally, open minority and gay and lesbian-owned businesses, which they have very little experience in doing with government TIF fund money and property money and government loans and government money, essentially, paid by the taxpayers, which only 7 out of 10 businesses go bankrupt. So unless they have a family history of owning a business, a restaurant or something, it's not probably going to work. The odds are against them statistically from it working. And it's much easier to be a customer than an owner. So I just thought I'd add that. It's not written down, but that's fine. To raise money only because lesbian, African, and African American people who live in major cities, with the suburbs money trying to corrupt the youths and religion by promoting anti-Christianity and gay alternative lifestyles and promoting drug use, racist violence against anyone who isn't African, through Black Lives Matter, the internet, the Democratic liberal left media channels on the news and everything, and gangs in every major city globally and truly to change society globally into a gay, African, lesbian, Hebrew, communist, Marxist, left, liberal society that does not function. Which is the truth. I like African people. What I'm saying, they're trying to change a circle that spins into a gay triangle that doesn't, or a gay square that does not spin. That's based on rebellion, drug use, violence, and shooting people. And then stealing the money and burning cities down. That actually doesn't work. And then stealing elections and then people living in excess in mansions that are in gated communities. That's what Barack and Oprah want to promote. Republican values like law and order, traditions of moral, legal, cultural, and political, financial, and structural continuity were created out of necessity to keep society functioning. So human beings don't go extinct and society doesn't get destroyed. So people have to follow the legal and constitutional laws, follow traditional values and convention, and use budgets and time schedules so they don't go bankrupt, kill everyone, or run out of time while going extinct. Using a democratic value system that's false. That's totally doesn't work. As human beings who did not understand or follow God or Allah's rules in His lower kingdom on earth, as mindless liberal terrorists, the CIA, the Democrats, the liberal left terrorists. Okay? All of these people will lose all of their possessions, their bodies, and their lives, and so will their children eventually. So their human struggle that God wrote or Allah wrote in their lives in our global society was just a test, a human test that was written by Allah or God. So Democrats trying to own everything, control everyone, and control the weather with all the climate change that they're trying to do. And those ridiculous windmills that cost how many billions of dollars trying to convert energy twice doesn't make sense. Instead of just using nuclear power like ComEd does, just to convert it that way, electricity. Instead of using fans that cost billions of dollars. Okay, I just threw that in there. Okay, just like changing everything with hopes, miracles, and prayers is ridiculous because everything is dictated by God or Allah's will only, and He is the only one who is in control of all things in all realms and all universes for all eternity, not the Democrats, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, or Black Lives Matter, or Antifa for that matter. Okay, so that's 19. Okay, I got more pages. Okay, that's fine. That's what I like to do on a Friday night instead of just having a nice, relaxing evening. Okay, and since the early 1980s, you have poor African Americans and gay people, who I'm not against at all. I'm neutral towards all of them, trying to gain power and control, but people aren't practicing equality. Okay, now racist lesbian African women who should just stay housewives or stay in their fields of what they know, okay, traditionally what they've done culturally and what they know, are interfering with political democracy, political global situations, and trying to imitate European, Caucasian, or African men. But they are women and gay people who are the less dominant, lesser species that are the, statistical minority. That's true. And I'm not saying anything that's not true, proven scientifically. Okay, men are more dominant because they're stronger and they have a larger cranium and a larger brain. I love women and I support women, but I'm telling them they're not the dominant species. They're the less dominant species. That's why it's the man of the house and father knows best. I'm not for gay community, nor do I have to be. Okay, now people are prejudiced against straight European Caucasian men like myself, while trying to tell me that I'm not equal to gay women or gay African women somehow, which is false. If everyone are supposed to be created equal in God's eyes. You understand? Which I didn't write that, but I just added that. I had to write 40 pages of what a law told me to do today. And do you think I wanted to do this? No. I wanted to have a nice, relaxing Friday. People need to control themselves and their actions in life. People don't need political power, billions of dollars, celebrity, fame, and power agendas to try to own businesses temporarily and try to control society illegally through political positions like mayor, governor, or president. Now women are trying to take the man's role in society as gay minority women who are lesbians, but they're not capable of filling that role because they're women who are less dominant. And they have no experience in it, because men usually dictate most things in society, or at least half of them, to 2/3 of it, for a reason, because that's what how Allah wrote it. Politics should not allow women and some women and some minorities to be involved in politics because they're in the statistical minority, and if they're not capable of holding office and following the laws and rules, unless they prove they're the exception of that, all of this, is unnecessary and has caused a lot of major problems. Okay. Well, all this inclusion has caused a lot of problems, because now they want to include people who have no credentials, who have no training, who are less dominant, they don't know what they're doing, and they cause massive problems because of their lack of experience. Okay, which is not good. And then guess who gets to pay for it is everyone. Okay. And now you have children who want to be president because they read a poem, but a poem is literature, not politics. Okay, so they should try to be an English teacher if they like poetry that has nothing to do with being a political leader. That is literature, and they should try to be an English teacher. Okay, in college or something. Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama are not good role models because they are openly racist against white Caucasian people, are all former alcoholic and drug users, career criminals and terrorists who are living in material excess while putting on a fake show and living by false views. Okay, so African Americans should look up to other African Americans as role models like Michael Jordan, Denzel Washington, Steve Harvey, and Felicia Rashad, Naomi Campbell, and Sade, the British singer, instead, in my opinion, because I like all of them better because they're all the opposite of Barack, Michelle, and Oprah. In sports, women have separate leagues like the WNBA, and women don't play football, so why are women trying to be president if they can't play in the NFL? It's a good question. That makes no sense. So if they can't play against men in football, how can they play against them in politics? No one has considered that? I have. That's not funny. So, what's happening is ridiculous. Okay, someone has to address it, and who better than the Messiah? Now transgender people want to be in the military, but they don't belong there because their community would be the gay San Francisco community of transgender or LGBTQ, whatever it is, not the military, okay? So it went from don't ask, don't tell to now the transgender army trying to take over and infiltrate the army as a Trojan horse. So women don't need to be in politics, just like transgender people don't need to be in the military exclusively. Okay, they can find other communities that they're more relatable to. Do you understand? Because they're not trying to be astronauts. All these people aren't trying to be astronauts, are they? Or are they trying to be NASCAR drivers or trying to be Mexican, singers or something? They're not trying to do that, but they all want to be politicians and president. People are trying. It's just as abstract though. If people wanted to own, a skydiving company and all try to go skydiving, it makes no sense. People are trying to gain acceptance and access to governmental positions and structures as a Trojan horse by Africans and gay people who are Democrats trying to infiltrate areas of the government to try to hijack the situation or impose their will upon people. It isn't for equality or inclusion of African Americans or women or gay people or transgender people. They're trying to do it as a power struggle, in my opinion, is they're trying to infiltrate the system, hijack it, and then control it, which they'll always be negated as a statistical minority, so it's stupid. It's not going to work. It's the same with politics. You have uneducated rebel warrior African Americans who want to take over, hijack, and that's true, and own the system, just like what the Democrats and Oprah Winfrey, Barack and Michelle Obama have unsuccessfully done since 2008. Okay, including them in the political scene has cost trillions of dollars and has caused 12 years of problems, societal problems, and international terrorism and national terrorism against the United States and other countries globally. Okay, now Barack Obama and the Democrats have tried to ruin Trump's presidency, Donald Trump that is, impeach Trump twice, which they failed both times, and they tried to kill Trump, in my opinion, with the COVID virus, which I believe they colluded with China and Wuhan to create. The CIA did that. In my opinion, I might be wrong. You would have to ask them because they're so honest. And then they're trying to cause a worldwide genocide of Caucasian European Christians and anyone who's not African, while stealing the money from the COVID, from the government with the COVID stimulus package and the trillions of dollars that have been allocated by the government for the Democrats' climate change agenda. The Democrats, Obama, defrauded the government the same way in 2008 to 2016 with Obamacare. It's the same governmental Medicare fraud, okay? But now it's COVID instead of Obamacare. It's the same thing Michelle does. She goes to the Treasury and she steals the money, and then Obama is involved, and so is Rahm Emanuel and the Chicago Democrats. They're all colluded. Since 1960, in my opinion, since 1963, time will tell. Since 1963, African Americans have had riots in 1968 after MLK was shot, after the Rodney King beatings in the 90s, and now after the George Floyd incident. So people's behaviors and their human nature stays relatively the same, despite technical progress of machines like smartphones or computers, laptops, and cultural evolution or a change in someone's cultural standing. Going from lower class to higher class in the U.S. and global society, like Barack and Michelle and Oprah have done since the 80s, which I've stayed the same, which is not rich. And that's putting it mildly, living on half of welfare as a poor white European musician. So people's actions stay the same even if they get more money, political power, fame, popularity, and society is more equal than it used to be. The same caste system exists in most countries, but now people think there are double standards that Africans should benefit from only with affirmative action, which is racism against everyone who is an African or African American. Africans can profit financially from saying the N-word, which I won't say, as comedians like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, who I like, they're funny comedians. And white people lose their jobs and Caucasians lose their jobs and careers, just like Kramer, he said that word he was doing a skit about Lenny Bruce, the comedian, who lost his career the same way. in the 60s, I believe. And then Kramer from Seinfeld lost his career almost because he said a word, which is protected under the First Amendment right, and which everyone has the freedom of speech to use equally.